when we're talking about small group leadership, there's a lot of things that you're going to experience that are going to be kind of highs and lows in that discipleship process. And part of being an effective discipler is having the grittiness to really see it through. When you have the highs to put the worship and the praise of your heart towards the Lord, when that person that you fought for really just walks away or maybe hurts you in some way as you put yourself out there in relationship with them, to not walk away from the fight for God's kingdom, but to continue to minister in that way. And so we find, like, hey, how do you grow that sense of grittiness in your discipleship process? And one of the things that's so critical is having a core sense of purpose in your life. Well, then the question then comes up, well, how do I create that sense of purpose? College students are all about trying to grow that in their own life, trying to figure out, like, what is my purpose in life, and how do I, grow into that sense of purpose to my career or in my family or in my faith now? Like, how do I develop that? But so do young people in their faith as we're discipling them. They also need to be kind of raised up. And it's sort of like an athlete. If you take an athlete into a workout routine, if you treat the new athlete in the same way that you treat the advanced expert, the young one will never become the mature athlete that they could become, because they're going to get discouraged with the expectations and the pressure, and the weight of the workout just isn't going to be good enough, or they're not going to be good enough, not ready for that level of responsibility. And so we see that in this idea of developing purpose that leads to a grittiness, that people need to have seasons of their life where they're developed in different ways. And one of the ways that we break that down is by talking about this idea of play, practice, and altruistic purpose. Duckworth, in her book Grit, really breaks this down in a lot of ways. But we have found that oftentimes in discipleship, we can see where someone's core convictions are, and where sometimes they're working more out of a sense of duty in their faith than out of a deep passion for their faith, based on whether or not they were ever given a season to really, say, play. Now, you think, like, play in discipleship. Well, what does that look like? Well, it might just be this idea of, hey, let's do faith together. Let's spend time in prayer together, and elevating the idea of that walk with God without deep sense of, like, hey, did you have your Devo life last night? Not high challenge, but high invitation. And so through that sense of growing them in the disciplines, making it fun, making it enjoyable, making it something that connects to their heart and their experience, that gives them wanting more. Like, how do we develop that play? But then you kind of think like the kid who's learning how to play basketball, right? You don't try to get them to, like, hey, here's your lifelong, purpose or agenda in developing that skill, right? They're just little kids playing on the basketball court, trying to figure out, how do I make a basket? And if they make a basket, it's a big deal, right? But then they get on the team, and they start kind of developing those skills. And so that's kind of what we talk about when we talk about this idea of developing, intentional discipleship, intentional development of those skills. So then we're talking, like, hey, do you have a Devo life that's regular and daily? And you start giving a little more challenge and a little more vision towards their future. But then you get to this place, well, okay, they're learning how to take on responsibility in the kingdom of God for their own faith. They're starting to be able to feed themselves, right? But again, at this point in the discipleship, it's all about me, right? It's about me growing my faith. But then that third part that they have found that is so critical to developing really a lifestyle of purpose towards something is that altruistic purpose, that we connect it more intentionally, more focused on that idea of, how does this serve other people? And that doesn't matter even what it is, but if someone can connect what they're doing to a greater purpose, something bigger than themselves, they're far more likely to stick with it. And so oftentimes we miss this part in faith development with people, that hey, have a prayer life and learn to enjoy talking with the Lord, and then learn how to have that regular time that's day in and day out, a rhythm, a habit that is developed in your life. But then are you taking that time just to be with the Lord because you feel the sense of fulfillment in that time with him? Or are you looking to God, hey, how can I partner with you in prayer towards other people? Am I interceding for my world in a much more deliberate and intentional way that's connecting to the purpose for why I'm praying? And that's just an example. But as we disciple people, thinking through where are they, and am I trying to get the student who really just needs to learn how to have fun with their faith in the spiritual disciplines? Am I trying to give them the pressure of someone who is far further in their faith? Or vice versa, am I just keeping it lighthearted when this person really needs to be encouraged, to be challenged, to grow and intentionally develop in their faith in that way? Because ultimately we want people to get to this place of lifelong development in the spiritual disciplines, in the areas of faith that help them grow in that place of connecting relationally with their God and with each other. But we need to connect the dots to where are they right now? And what is my strategy to kind of help them in that place of having fun with their faith and developing intentionally in that discipleship process and connecting it to the greater purpose in the kingdom of God for why my faith is what God has done in me. Now, how can he do that through me?